to NFL recap here, and then a little look ahead here to Week 3. Pretty mixed reviews on this week. Nailed a couple things, and then we missed on a couple. Ended up breaking even on DraftKings. So could have been worse. We took our shots and kind of go over where we hit and where we missed.
I was going to say, actually, for me, I played a little bit heavier on my cash games this week, and I actually made some money. I comfortably won a lot of the 50-50s. Tournaments, I was right on the outside looking in. A couple mistakes got me outside there. So not the best return week, but it was a good enough where I was good enough to feel comfortable, confidently winning all those 50-50. So start with the biggest probably hit of the week, which was our quarterback, and Tom Brady.
Nailed it, man. That guy's got a point to prove through 2 1-yard touchdown passes. Anytime you're not getting piked at the one, running back, that's the quarterback you want to be on.
Yeah, so that was huge. Obviously, if you get your quarterback right, wasn't super highly played, very well priced, especially that I think the Dak Herbert was highly played.
The same price point.
Not that I didn't play any Dak, but I was much heavier on Brady. Very lucky that game kind of went the way it did. So that was a win. Also talk quick preview for next week. We like Brady again this week, so a couple more, little bit more research to do, but from the pricing standpoint, we're liking Brady again. All right, on to the running backs. Mixed bag, really didn't do well here. We had Edmonds, didn't screw us for as cheap as he was. I think he scored about 12 and a half. Didn't get the boom we wanted out of him, but he was under $5,000. He was in that $4,800 range, so didn't kill us there. Hines, on the other hand, really hurt us. We played a lot of Hines. He was coming off a 6-reception game. He was coming off almost a 50-50 snap count with Jonathan Taylor, and then what really threw us here was Marlon Mack. It wasn't really Taylor. Taylor did what I expected Taylor to do, but all the times Taylor wasn't in, Mack got the series. Mack got targets. Hines barely played. He was barely targeted. That was a big miss, and that pretty much cost me in almost all my tournaments. Was getting a 3 or 4 point game out of a running back was tough there. So that was a big miss, and I have Hines in a couple of my season-long leagues, and I loved him as a sleeper, as PPR guy, and I'm not playing. This guy won't be anywhere near my lineup or my flex rankings until I see a different usage going on there. And honestly, even from a Jonathan Taylor standpoint,
you got to be worried.
I was a little worried about the split there, and then obviously now we have the quarterback issues. So that one hurt. That one definitely cost us some money, but that's what you get when you're kind of gambling with a timeshare, especially and you're paying only $4,600, $4,700 for someone. It wasn't like we got that from a $9,000, $8,000 investment, so I could live with it, but it was a tough miss there.
Yeah, and I mean, it sucks because we called out the bust of the week, and he was heavily owned, was Elijah Mitchell.
Yep.
The guy ended up with, I think, 6 points, maybe 7. I think he ended up getting some catches I didn't expect, but 7 points. I think he was played at a ridiculous clip.
He was. He got a touchdown taken back, which was huge for us who did not play him. So,
but it's tough when you get that right and then you just don't capitalize off of it. Yep. So, look, you win some, you lose some. I think a lot of people got saved on a couple plays. The Najee Harris 25-yard touchdown catch saved the guys that paid up for Najee Harris. Yep. Look, we weren't on Derrick Henry. That guy went fucking absolutely off in the second half of that game. And, we didn't capitalize at running back. We also – running backs are tough this year, man. There's just not that many that are scoring big, consistent points. So we'll definitely have to look into running backs here for week 3, see what we got. But that kind of sums up the running back situation for us. And now
let's go receivers.
Yeah, let's start with the hit. I mean, Cooper Kupp was an absolute monster.
Yeah, he pretty much Cooper Kupp alone basically guaranteed I was making money in my 50-50s. Yeah. Tom Brady, Cooper Kupp alone
scored enough. Yeah,
scored enough to where I was winning money there. So that was huge. Can't say enough good things about Kupp. Guy looks amazing. He's got one of the highest floors in fantasy football right now. He's getting so many targets and catches, and he's got one of the highest ceilings because he's on an offense that's scoring a lot of points, and he's the main focal points that just like we highlighted with Tom Brady. We'll get more into this on our next podcast, but we like Cooper Kupp again. He went up in price, but he didn't go up drastically.
Yeah.
He looks like he's still one of the best fantasy football receivers for the whole year right now. If you got him in your season long, so he's a steal. So yeah, couldn't say enough good things about that pick. Let's go to the medium kind of pick, which was Keenan Allen. We played a lot of Keenan Allen.
Godwin kind of in the same boat.
Godwin as well. Especially Allen, I want to highlight. He didn't screw us. He didn't have a bad game. Definitely wasn't the game we were expecting.
Yeah.
You know, he was the most expensive receiver we played. Expected him to get in the end zone. I expected that game to be higher scoring in general, but I can live with it. Still was very involved. Still got a lot of catches for us. The bust, which was in that game as well, was the Amari Cooper play, and we were higher on Amari Cooper than we were on CeeDee Lamb, and that one hurt. You know, it was just a lower scoring game. It was a weird game flow.
Lots of penalties.
And then, you know, Cooper got banged up, got his ribs hurt. We're going to see how that affects him moving forward. But, you know, rough outing there. But what are you going to do? The game, in general, that game hurt a lot of people. So I can live with only having one piece that we were hurt on. Whereas other people had Dak going. They had, you know, a lot of the receivers. They had all kinds of things. So
a couple surprises in that game is Mike Williams performed again.
yeah, he did.
Definitely something to take a look at. They got a prime matchup with the Chiefs next week. Cooper didn't look good. Look, we'll see what the injury played in that. Lamb had a average game for the targets that he received. But you got hurt if you played Dallas, man. I mean, Pollard scores a touchdown. Zeke scores a touchdown.
Yep.
That's all you see.
Exactly.
Dak's first game in I don't know how many weeks where he doesn't score.
Yeah.
So, yeah, can't be mad there.
Definitely keep an eye on that Cooper injury, though, because, you know, CeeDee Lamb will enter must-play range. Generally, nothing's changed with that offense. They're going to be throwing the ball a lot. They should score a lot of points. If Cooper misses any time, CeeDee Lamb's definitely going to be someone to look at. I
think you'll have him for a prime-time showdown matchup this week. He won't be on the main slate.
Yep.
But definitely worth taking a look at. A couple flyers that actually kind of made value there was Jamar Chase caught his touchdown.
Yep.
And Rondell Moore, man. The guy looked
really good.
Tight end, Gronk, the touchdown machine again.
That was big. Yep.
2 touchdowns. Looks great. Kind of faded out once they got in the lead, so scares you in the blowouts, but I think next week they got the Rams, and you're going to have a competitive game, and I mean, he's definitely in play.
Yep. Then the other 3 tight ends we were looking at were, I got very lucky that basically the 3 that we were talking about were Fant, Higbee, and Cook, the Chargers Cook. You know, luckily I was more on Fant, and Fant had a pretty decent game, had a good return for me. Higbee was kind of the bust of the week at tight end. I really expected more from him. I thought he was going to be more involved in the passing, so I'm glad I did not end up playing too much of him, even though I liked him going into the week. And then we know Cook. Cook didn't have a great game, but he really had some unfortunate luck. Had a touchdown called back. Chargers had all kinds of penalties going on. As a Chargers fan, it was a pretty pathetic game to watch. Game they probably should have won. But, you know, I don't dislike Cook's value moving forward. He's still a guy that seems involved. Seems like he's going to be an end zone target. But, yeah, Higbee I have a little more concerns on.
Yeah, also one more highlight from that Chargers game is that Eckler's back.
Yep.
9 catches. Saw that passing game usage that we like to see from him. Definitely giving him a good look once we look at the prices, but he'll be in play next week most likely.
Yep.
But yeah, let's look ahead to week 3. Oh, defense real quick from week 2. We went Pittsburgh, and they sucked.
Yeah, you know, we got Pittsburgh screwed us quite a bit. Luckily, on some of our matchups that we actually paid up on that we were talking about was Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
And it was late in the game, but Tampa Bay did come through for us in that fourth quarter, getting 2 pick sixes, really changed the whole their whole scoring. So had some where my defense did pay off, but in general, our big play of the week was Pittsburgh, which was a miss, and you know that TJ Watt injury did not help. And
Raiders looked okay.
Raiders look pretty good. And in general, I think the Steelers' offense is doing so poorly.
Yeah,
they're putting a lot of pressure
position
on that defense. You know, we're going to have to see how that one plays out and how that Watt injury looks.
All right, so let's look a little week 3 here. A couple of games definitely you're going to be looking at. So, look, Chargers-Chiefs.
Chargers-Chiefs, yep.
Going to get a lot of ownership percentages. I might stay away from that game a little bit. I could see the game flow being very similar to the Dallas game, where the Chargers want to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands.
Yep.
If they don't have the penalties, they're running these great long drives. But when you're playing that style, you can't have the 10-yard holding penalty on third down. It screws your drive. But if they implement that plan, keep Mahomes off, because you don't want to get in a firefight with the Chiefs. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could see a lot of obviously, you're paying up for the Chiefs players. Chargers guys are middle, could maybe get some value. But you're going to see a lot of ownership in that game.
That's my thing. I like that game a lot. I do think it's going to be high scoring. It's just a value thing. If I'm in that game, I'm more on Chargers, and it's just because of the pricing.
Yeah.
It's going to be highly owned, and you're going to pay for those Chiefs players. And for me, it's not that I don't think the Chiefs players are going to score. Is there value in some of these other games? And let's go right to the next game that I think there's going to be a lot of value in, and it's going to be the Bucks versus the Rams. And the reason there's so much value is, these are two of the premier defenses going into the year, and I think it's getting, almost overrating their defense a little bit. Both of these teams have better offenses than they do defenses. I expect this to be a shootout. I expect this to be just as high scoring as Chiefs-Chargers, except you're getting all the players at a $1,000 discount than you are in that Chiefs game. So that is a game I really like. We'll talk more about that, but in general, I don't think the defenses are going to be a big aspect here. I think this is going to be, remind me of the Dallas Bucks game that opened the season. We're going to get a really hell of a good game and a shootout. Another game I wanted to point out that maybe going to be more one-sided, but I really like for some fantasy purposes, is going to be the Ravens versus the Lions. We're going to have to take a hard look at the Ravens running situation and even the Lamar situation. I think they're going to run all over Detroit here. And I think, we and me were talking about, I think Detroit's getting a little underrated on the offensive end. Where
Goff's not getting any love.
Yeah, they
move the ball and they score.
Exactly. And you know what, the Ravens, I think we're getting a little bit of the Ravens from 2 years ago where this is a premier offense. They're going to put up points.
Yeah.
I like this game. There's not a lot of defense going on in the Lions. There's some guys that I think are going to be underrated in this game as well.
Yep. Another game which, it just never sounds good when you say it out loud. But the Seahawks-Vikings game is going to be an absolute shootout.
Yep.
Okay, we had Minnesota who loses because their kicking woes won't end.
Yep.
In a monster game with Arizona. There's some guys on Minnesota definitely worth looking at. They're going to be cheap. It's like a KJ Osborne.
Yep.
They're only running 3 wide receiver sets. He's getting targets.
He's getting targets.
He's probably $3,000, somewhere in there.
Exactly. And I want to highlight, he got targets in the first game, and he had a good game in the second game, separate from just that long touchdown pass.
Yeah.
So it's not, look past that, and maybe he's not going to score as much as if he gets an 80-yard touchdown pass. But he's involved in that offense.
Yeah,
yes.
So there's that. Seattle's defense isn't good. Their offense is great. You got the same situation in Minnesota. This could be one of the surprise games that's, in that 35-32 type of game. And there's a lot of guys there that are probably going to be undervalued a little bit. We'll see where Lockett and some of these Thielen guys come in.
Yep.
And then the offense
Yep.
is the Arizona Cardinals.
Exactly. Going against a horrific Jaguars defense. So there's going to be points scored. Who's it going to be and how big of a blowout do you think it's going to be? But obviously there will be points scored by Arizona there.
Yeah, so look, it's going to be hard to pay up for Hopkins. Rondell Moore is definitely in play with the kind of usage he's getting now.
Yeah, if you want to believe this, Rondell Moore has more targets on the year than DeAndre Hopkins. So
they're trying to get him the ball, and he's dynamite when he gets it. He could go off at any second. Going the other way in that game, look, if you're doing a tournament stack with Murray, definitely think about coming back with a Marvin Jones who's just not getting the respect on DraftKings that he should.
He's getting force-fed the ball, getting a lot of targets. He's a big receiver. He's looked pretty good out there.
Other than that, there's some tough matchups. One game which is the garbage game of the week, which I honestly just see might hurt me, is that Falcons-Giants game. Could just be points because, who cares? You got 2 bottom-dwelling teams with no defense.
Yep. There's a lot to talk about, especially Daniel Jones put on a hell of a
he looks great.
First 2 fantasy performances.
Kyle Pitts started to turn it on week 2, and against that Giants defense might be able to feast. Look, lots of lots of stuff here. We're going to check out the shadow reports. We're going to dive into kind of some of those route run usage reports.
Yeah.
And we'll get you guys some sleepers and some some lineups to go off of here later.
Last thing we also want to talk about is going to be, we got a lot of research to get done, but defense is going to be very interesting this week. There's definitely a big separation between the top dogs that are going to perform, and then some very cheap defenses that are playing second-string quarterbacks because of this injury bug that's kind of swept us last week. So there's kind of a balance there of, do you want to go get the safe one, or do you want to take a flyer on a defense that's not really a great defense, but they're playing such a a bad quarterback or offensive situation that it might have value. So it's something we're going to dive into in our next podcast, but it's an interesting thing that can make or break your lineup there.
All right, guys, we'll get back to you later this week with a little more details.